It is the 14th of October 2024, a day that marks 25 years since the passing of Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. A warm welcome to TBC News as we commemorate this special day. Our top stories. Nyerere praised as Tanzania marks Nyerere Day. The 2024 National Uhuru Torch Race reaches climax. Good evening, I am Faida Gaga. You can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBC Online. Also, get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and X pages at TBC Online. The former president, Dr. Jakaya Kikwete, says the founding father, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, was a visionary leader who worked very closely with his party and his government. He made the remarks while speaking with my colleague, Jakaya Kikwete, as Tanzania marks 25 years since the passing of Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere.
One thing that was unique about Julius Nyerere, he was running the country with the party.
Running the country?
With the party. All major decisions. First, the party was responsible for policy decisions. All policy making decisions was the responsibility of the party. Chama ndio kilichokuwa kinatoa sera. The government was an implementation agent of the government. The government was implementing party policies. Even if the government would sit down and propose a policy, for example, a policy on health, that policy will have to be taken to the party and get endorsement. It was after that endorsement, then it is being declared a national policy. So this is the system. So Mwalimu used to work with he was running the country with the party. So on all major decisions, Mwalimu used to inform the party even before announcing them. He would convene a committee of the party. It is just like the Arusha Declaration. Mwalimu Nyerere was the author of that document. But before he made it public, he convened a meeting of the National Executive Committee in Arusha. They sat there for 3 days. After the party endorsed the document, that's how he came to promulgate the document on the 5th of February in Dar es Salaam at the Anatogro Hall. But he was a visionary leader. He was a big brain with a lot of vision. He had a vision for the country. He had this man full of ideas. And because he had a lot of interest on seeing the country develop, seeing that it change. That's Julius Nyerere, his vision. But Nyerere, in his sense of patriotism, he loved his country so much. He inherited a country of 126 tribes, 120 tribes. Some are Muslims, some are Christians, some are Hindus, some are Baha'i. And the majority of the people at that time were non-aligned. They were not Muslims, they were not Christians, they were not everything. They were just believing. Some of them were just believing, worshipping their own idols and so on. But to weave a nation and become unified, unified nation, peaceful, stable, it needed certain levels of skills and certain levels of thinking and vision and so on. So that's why I was saying, we were so lucky to have him as a leader at a time when he was the leader of our country.
That was the former president of the United Republic of Tanzania, Dr. Jakaya Kikwete, speaking with my colleague Antonia Kivaria. The Namibian ambassador to Tanzania, Lebius Tobias, says the best way for African countries to honor Mwalimu Julius Nyerere is through strengthening of the unity amongst African nations, since this is one of the principles that Mwalimu Nyerere emphasized during his leadership. Speaking in an exclusive interview with TBC News on the legacy of Mwalimu Nyerere, Ambassador Tobias adds that the African unity should focus on the aspect of the economy of African nations. First of all, how would you describe the contribution of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere during the liberation movement that led to the independence of Namibia?
Thank you very much. I should first of all really thank you for the opportunity I got to be interviewed by the TVC. The role that Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere played in the liberation struggle that has led to the independence of Namibia is really a very important one. I should indicate here that during our dark days, when Namibia was under colonialism, our leaders have or had to come here to Tanzania. I can start off with our great leader and the first president of the Republic of Namibia, who was also by then the president of the SWAPO party, the liberation movement that was fighting for the liberation of Namibia, Dr. Sam Nujoma. In the 60s, he came to Tanzania. And that was the time that he was also on his way to the United Nations to petition. So that has now paved the journey to the independence of Namibia, which was not easy, but it was really made possible by Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. It's also very much important to mention that Tanzania, under the leadership of Mwalimu Kambarage Nyerere, is a country that has played a big role in terms of accommodating freedom fighters, Namibians, Angolans, Mozambicans, South Africans, Zambians, and many others.
Your Excellency, in which ways now can we better honor the legacy of Mwalimu Nyerere as a continent, not just as a nation? You've spoken of how most of Southern African countries gained independence due to the contribution that he had.
It's very much important to make sure that what he has laid upon, the strong foundation that he has laid upon that, especially the unity, that Africans should unite. So by then, during the time when he was assisting all these countries, including Namibia, to gain independence, he has indicated that the independence of Tanzania alone will not really mean much. But then he wanted other countries within the continent of Africa to also get independent. So we have reached or achieved or attained that. And then we are taking our countries and the continent forward. In terms of economy now, for instance, that we have to make sure that we are making sure everything that Mwalimu Kambarage Nyerere wanted is kept, and we are moving forward on that.
Tanzania and the United Kingdom share ties that date back since colonial times until Nyerere became Prime Minister of the British-administered Tanganyika in 1960 and thereafter as Prime Minister of independent Tanganyika in 1961. As Tanzania commemorates 25 years without Mwalimu, Nasser Kingu has visited the UK High Commission in Tanzania and has prepared the following report.
And in fact, I just visited the Liberation Centre, which is just across the road from the British High Commission, and I was really struck about how central he was in that wider African story.
Which country can be there to talk better on Mwalimu's legacy than the United Kingdom? And I'm here at the UK High Commission in Dar es Salaam to meet with the new UK ambassador to Tanzania, Marianne Young, who terms Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere as an architect of Pan-Africanism.
So his role as an architect of Pan-Africanism. In fact, I previously served in South Africa and Namibia and was very struck by seeing photos of people I'd met while on those postings, Nelson Mandela and Sam Nujoma, working very much in partnership with Julius Nyerere on the wider struggle and liberation causes across the continent. So I think he's really remembered for his role in supporting those wider issues.
She further elaborates the links he had with the UK.
And also we have very strong links with the UK as a nation too. And this was incredibly important around independence when working so closely with him ensured a peaceful handover of power and ensured that the foundations of the United Republic of Tanzania were so strong. And the work he did on ensuring national unity and creating a cohesive identity laid the foundations for the stable and prosperous nation we have today.
She also remembers remarkable moments with UK top leaders.
In fact, I see you've got a picture here of Queen Elizabeth II when she paid a visit to Tanzania in 1979 and met with Julius Nyerere, which is a lovely memento to have. And her son, who is now a current monarch, Charles III, also visited here, I think, in 1984. So still very, very strong links between Tanzanian leadership and some shared historic chapters between our nations.
Once again, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere today is remembered in Africa and beyond. Nasser Kingu, TBC News.
For his advocacy and self-reliance and independence, Nyerere inspired many African nations in their quest for independence. To reflect on his enduring impact, my colleague Teddy Mparanyanga speaks with Ambassador Isaac Njenga, the High Commissioner of Kenya to Tanzania, who shares insight into Nyerere's role in promoting independence across the continent.
What is the role of Mwalimu Nyerere? What role did he play in strengthening the diplomatic ties between Kenya and Tanzania?
Thank you very much, Teddy. And, had you not mentioned that it's 25 years now since the passing on of Mwalimu, it almost seems like Mwalimu just left us the other day. Mwalimu was also a towering figure in the way that he, led in the fight of independence for Tanzania from the British colonial rule, but also in support of other countries that were yet to get independent. Again, Mwalimu was a strong believer in stability and peace. And you will see a lot of his diplomatic efforts within the region, to bring peace, most notably with Uganda, when they were facing unrest after the toppling or ouster of Milton Obote by Idi Amin. We see Mwalimu's very evident effort in trying to stabilize the region, to bring cohesion, and to generally ensure that the community, the region, remained peaceful. But one thing was clear: Mwalimu believed in self-reliance. Self-reliance for Tanzanians, self-reliance for Kenyans, and self-reliance for Africans as a whole. Mwalimu also encouraged trade between our two countries, and we had quite a lot of trade happening during that time, and the many other things that we did together as a community, because I think his belief, umoja ni nguvu, would be seen in the sense that many of the infrastructural projects that we're doing and many of the institutions that we had were communal institutions. We had East African Airways. We had East African Railway. We had universities that together with his colleagues decided that we should have tertiary institutions of excellence.
Are there any lessons that our current leaders or future leaders can learn from Mwalimu Nyerere's approach towards governance and diplomacy?
A lot. Mwalimu's humility was outstanding. He did not wish for themselves, and that's why you see he didn't have many accolades. He preferred to go by the simple title of Mwalimu, and the title Mwalimu still remains a very humble title to even modern days. So Mwalimu, from the earlier on, I mean, he would have gone to many other titles, but he chose to go with the title of Mwalimu. There are many African leaders who became known as emperors after their independence. He voluntarily stepped out of office. He was not voted out when it was not in fashion for leaders to step out of office. And know that leadership also is not about self-aggrandizement. It's not about self-enrichment. It's not about, perpetuating yourself, but rather looking at the bigger picture and living for the bigger picture, which is nationhood, promoting nationhood and promoting the well-being.
On the same note, Uganda and Tanzania share a long history of political, economic and cultural ties rooted in their geographical proximity and common experiences during the colonial and post-colonial era. Earlier, my colleague Rioba Stephen spoke with the Uganda's High Commissioner to Tanzania, General Fred Mwesige, who shared Mwalimu's remarkable contributions that created the foundation of the present-day bilateral ties between the two nations.
In 1972, Ugandans, led by Obote and Museveni, tried to invade Uganda, but they failed, didn't succeed, and many of them were killed. So from that time, they stopped making any other attempt because the world condemned Mwalimu Nyerere. They thought he had supported, but actually he was not supporting them. That time he had not supported them very much. But they organized it quietly and went from nowhere. And you know why? Amin attacked Tanzania to capture the whole of Kagera salient. This was in 1978. October there. So the whole of October, November, December there, were there looting and killing and doing all the havoc in that Kagera region. Meanwhile, Mwalimu got an opportunity to help us organize ourselves, train us who were called from all over the world, and give us some training, give us some support, military support. And we formed two fighting units, Chikosi Malum and Milton Obote. Chikosi Fronasa and President Museveni now. We went and kicked out with Amin out of Kagera, and we were being had very famous commanders like Musuguri, who is still alive, General Marwa, and others. We went, and within 2 or 3 months, we had captured the border of Uganda. And so the Chikosi Malum Red Board went through Masaka area up to Kampala. Chikosi Fronasa under Museveni went through Mbarara up to West Nile. So, and there are many commanders who were young lieutenants at that time who are still alive. And every year when we celebrate independence, I invite them to come and attend. So the relationship of Tanzania and Uganda date as far as that time. And it dates as far as 1965.
Uhuru Torch Race leader Godfrey Mzava urges the government to ensure that the next Uhuru Torch Race inspects projects that are being run with internal funds. Mzava made the call during the climax of the Uhuru Torch Race held in the Mwanza region. Here are more details.
Uhuru Torch reaches its climax after going through 197 councils across the country, covering more than 37,000 kilometers.
Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa heshima na taazima, ninaomba kukabidhi mwenge wa uhuru ikiwa ni ishara ya kuhitimisha mbio zake kwa mwaka 2024. Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie.
Uhuru Torch Race leader Godfrey Mzava says the race has inspected 1,595 projects worth more than 11 trillion Tanzanian shillings.
Ikitokea Mheshimiwa Rais, ukaelekeza.
Honorable President, if it suits, may you direct that for the year 2025 that the Uhuru Torch deal with projects that are being implemented by the supports of internal income collected from our council, and that the Torch connects the plan for spreading energy in villages.
The Minister of State, Prime Minister's Office, Labour, Youth, Employment and Persons with a Disability, Jakaya Kikwete, elaborates the success of the Uhuru Torch Race.
Mheshimiwa Rais, naomba kutoa taarifa.
Up to 16 projects of a value of 8.6 billion have been declined by Uhuru Torch and have been directed to PCCB for further investigation.
The climax of the Uhuru Torch Race this year has been held in the Mwanza region. Immediately the celebrations to mark the climax of the Uhuru Torch Race, the Uhuru Torch was handed over to the Chief of Defense Forces to be taken to the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro, symbolizing 60 years of the Union.
And now, before we wind up local news, let's have a look at today's exchange rates according to the Bank of Tanzania, BOT. Do not miss TVC News every weekday to know all the latest in exchange rates. Time now for all the latest in international news. And here is international news as compiled and read to you by Nyambona Masamba.
International news kicks off in Asia. China has begun a new round of military exercise around Taiwan, deploying fighter jets and warships. China said the drills are warning against both separatist acts of Taiwan independence forces. Taiwan condemned China's latest military exercise as both broad in provocation that seriously undermine regional peace and stability. Beijing used the island as its own territory, they claim, which Taiwanese government rejects. This military drill comes days after a speech by Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te marking Taiwanese Independence Day. He was openly defiant, dismissing unification with China. Beijing said the exercise are a response to that speech and a warning to so-called separatists. Taiwan must choose peace or self-rule, but not both. From Asia to Africa, more than 1.6 children under the age of 6 in Sudan are at risk of malnutrition because of flooding. Parents say they do not have enough food or clean drinking water. 800,000 people have fled their homes and thousands of hectares land are underwater. People say they have no food at home. They cannot farm anymore because of their farms are in water. There's growing concern in Indonesia after months of economic stagnation. Household spending is down and there's growing strain in business. Central Jakarta is one of the largest textile markets in Southeast Asia, but it's quite as here than usual, where vendors declared they are continuously discounting their products.
That was international news. Sports news up next.
Indonesia has
And in sports news, acting head coach of the Tanzania national football team, Taifa Stars, Hemed Suleiman Morocco, says his team is ready to beat DR Congo and take all crucial 3 points in the return leg match to be played tomorrow at Benjamin Mkapa Stadium in Dar es Salaam. Morocco believes that victory will be vital to build players' confidence and the chance to qualify for CAF Africa Cup of Nations AFCON 2025, considering that any team in the group has a chance to cruise to the finals.
The most important thing is us to get good results by all means so as we can have a good position against Guineas. Simultaneously, we're pressurizing Congo. Competition still goes on, and what matters is one to win against their competitors in all these coming matches.
As Taifa Stars welcomes DR Congo at Benjamin Mkapa Stadium, they lost by 1-0 while away, and only a win will put Stars in good position to qualify for AFCON 2025 finals. That was sports news. And now, before we wind up the news bulletin, let's have a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Hello, dear viewers, and welcome for the next 24 hours forecast. From Tanzania Meteorological Authority, my name is Rebecca William. Starting with windy patterns and wind expected to flow at the speed of 20 km per hour for Lake Victoria, Lake Nyasa, together with the entire coast, and the speed of 30 km per hour for Lake Tanganyika. And state of the sea is expected to be slight. And landfall models are portraying reduction of activities over most parts of the country. And for tonight, we expect the entire country to feature these particular conditions. While for tomorrow, we expect areas around Lake Victoria Basin to feature this particular condition, thunderstorms over a few areas and some periods. While for the Tanga, together with the Nguja and Pemba ISOs, are expected to feature this particular condition, light rain showers over a few areas and some periods. While for the rest part of the country, expected to feature this particular condition and some periods. Let us see next 4 days forecast from different cities and regions. Dodoma sun period is expected and maximum temperature 31 degrees. Mbeya sun period is expected and maximum temperature 28 degrees. Mwanza thunderstorms and thunder showers are expected and maximum temperature is 30 degrees. Kilimanjaro sun period is expected and maximum temperature is 31 degrees. Morogoro sun period is expected and maximum temperature is 31 degrees. Arusha sun period is expected and maximum temperature is 27 degrees. From Tanzania Meteorological Authority, thank you and have a good night.
And that marks the end of the news bulletin for tonight. I am Faida Gaga. Happy New Year Day.